News, understanding that one size doesn't fit all when it comes to politics. The Republican Zone airs Wednesday from 1 to 2 p.m. and Saturday from 3 to 4 p.m.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Ursula Radio. My name is Drew Murray, and I am the host of the Republican Zone. I am here with my good friend, Rob Jordan. So welcome, Rob.
Thank you.
So I had asked you to be on about 2-3 weeks ago, and the thought process was, all right, Rob, will you come on and talk about the Log Cabin Republicans? So you are the founder, president. What is your title? Founder and president?
Founder of the current chapter and president.
And president. So that's why you were coming on originally. But now you have another reason to come on because you are now running for United States Congress as the House of Representatives in the 5th Congressional District. I keep saying 2nd, but hopefully I won't make that mistake anymore as we talk throughout this show. But I still want to talk about, so obviously your candidacy for Congress is probably your main focus now and maybe even a bigger deal than founding the Log Cabin Republicans. But let's talk about the Log Cabin Republicans first, because I'll be honest with you, when you first introduced yourself and said I founded the Log Cabin Republicans, I said, number one, it was during the city council race when we met last year.
Yes.
And I think when you told me that, there was like a week. I had horrible, basically flu. And I think you told me that, and I was like, "Oh, great!" You're like, "I'm like Log Cabin Republicans. That's great." As soon as you turned around, I Googled it. I'm like, "What is the?" I'm like, "I don't know what the Log Cabin Republicans."
Most people
So
don't.
why don't you tell what is your group? What is the Log Cabin Republicans?
Sure. Well, the Log Cabin Republicans is a group of like-minded people in the LGBT community who feel that their views are a little more conservative or middle stream, mainstream than the left-wing viewpoints. So where back in the day when Stonewall occurred, when everyone came out and the word gay became common, I think most people were of a like political mindset. I mean, there wasn't much difference. And now everything is really stratified and gone to the left or to the right. So whereas Stonewall and some organizations might have gone to the left, the Log Cabin Club has gone to the right, and we've espoused that viewpoint, and we've set up chapters throughout the country that feed into a national head and national administration in Washington, D.C., where we have our clerical people and administrative people, but each chapter does their own thing in each urban area.
Okay. And you founded the Philadelphia chapter just recently, right? In the last
Yes, we just
years?
started last January, so I was the first, and the chapter had been in existence in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, okay.
And it had disbanded. So unfortunately, it disbanded. There was a gentleman named Don Carter that some of the viewers knew well, and he was great, and he passed away. So a lot of that old management moved out of town or passed away. And I started the chapter, and I was told at the time, you won't get 5 people to join. And right away, we got 5, and each week we seem to get a new member, and we're up to 50 members. After
Oh, wow,
12 months.
that's awesome. I mean, so how long has, and maybe you don't even know this, when was the Log Cabin Republicans founded right after Stonewall? When was it founded? Was it?
Log Cabin Republicans was founded in the late 80s, specifically with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan did a lot for the movement in California. There was an initiative on the ballot in California back then when he was governor, actually, before president, where they were trying to say that if a teacher was gay, they couldn't teach. And it was huge, and it spawned this Log Cabin movement. So they wanted to attack that issue, not just from the Democrat side, but from the Republicans. So Log Cabin really began in California and has since spread eastward.
Okay. Oh, I never knew that. You learn something new every day. So was it called Log Cabin, or was it always Log Cabin Republicans? Was it always a Republican group?
It was Log Cabin Republican, again, because with that teacher initiative in California, they wanted to hit it from both sides. They
Okay.
didn't want to say it was just a Democrat issue or a Republican issue. They wanted to be known that this is a Log Cabin Republican issue. And also to thank President Reagan, or Governor Reagan at the time, Governor Reagan of California, who supported that issue.
And I bet most people wouldn't believe or think that President Ronald
No.
Reagan would have supported the LGBT community.
But the truth was he was very gay-friendly, very friendly to the LGBT community, and he and Nancy had many, many friends in the community. So they did a lot for the community in California, and that transferred when they went to Washington.
Sure. So now my guess is when you tell people that you are a gay man and you are a Republican, people look at you like you're either crazy, you're nuts, maybe you're not gay, or maybe you're not Republican. Right. One of the two, right?
Something's lacking, right? Something's wrong. It's true. Sometimes you do get a second look But then as people start to hear what I say or hear what the viewpoints are of the Log Cabin Club, they see that there's a lot of similarities. And I've had a lot of people convert to the club from being a real staunch Democrat because they realize that our opinions are the same. It's not
Sure.
just the name.
You don't have to be a Democrat. If you're gay, you don't have to be a Democrat,
Exactly.
right? And if you're, I was going to say if you're Democrat, you don't have to be gay, but
Right.
if you're gay, you don't have to be a Democrat. And really, I always look at some of the social issues and what falls under the banner of Republican or what falls under the banner of Democrat. It really makes no sense. I always say, I'm more of like a Ronald Reagan Republican. Like if you look at it, it's more fiscal than anything else, right? You think, okay, I'm a Republican and I'm for small government and small taxes. If I'm a Democrat, I am for large government and large taxes. So what the hell does that have to do with someone's sexual identity?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So that's why identity politics, I always say, I hate identity politics.
Yeah.
I don't understand why a gay man, a lesbian woman have to be Democrat because they might be very well in favor of lower taxes and a small
Exactly.
government. So it's and I'm not saying this in a disparaging way to Democrats, but I think Democrats are very good at making people, they're telling people that they're marginalized. And in many ways, the communities they're telling are marginalized. The gay community is marginalized. But what they're really, really good at is saying, and the Democrats are the only one that can help you not be marginalized anymore.
Exactly. And my story was a little similar to many here in the audience. I grew up as a Republican in Delaware County. I was in the Young Republicans of Media. I was an usher for Ronald Reagan when he came to the Delaware County Courthouse back in the day. I was the president of the Villanova College Republicans. So I was very conservative at that point. And then when I had my coming out at 23 and spent a lot of time in the Center City in the neighborhood, I felt a kinship to President Clinton because I felt like the Clintons were persecuted. And back at that point, I think a lot of gay folk in the community felt persecuted. So there were a lot of similarities. And I felt perfectly at home with Bill and Hillary Clinton for years. And I strongly supported her in 2008. I went around the country for her. I donated. I knocked on doors. I went visiting the neighborhood bars with Ed Rendell and Chelsea Clinton.
Wow, okay.
So I was like totally
You were a Democrat.
Totally in Democrat, big time Democrat for about 20 years.
And look, the Clintons, Bill Clinton was somewhat, he was pretty conservative. He was a moderate, what people would call a moderate, but a conservative Democrat. So it's not totally out of the realm, not crazy that you actually did support President Clinton at the time. So, and it's interesting. As you know, I was a Democrat, and honestly, Bill Clinton might have some different issues now, but President Clinton has different issues. But I probably more identified with people like President Bill Clinton, and honestly, I say President Obama was a lot more conservative than I think people give him credit for. People think he's a huge liberal because of Obamacare, but in many instances, he's more conservative than people give him credit for. But as the Democratic Party in the past few years has gone further and further left, I mean, not saying anything disparaging to Bernie Sanders, but he's a self-admitted Democratic socialist, and he is currently doing very well in the primaries. Yeah, he came in second in Iowa and first in New Hampshire, although it was very close with him and Buttigieg. But they're the two front runners now. The moderate Joe Biden seems to be faltering fast now. From what I understand, he's going to look to places like South Carolina to rebound. Who knows if he can? But overall, I always say the Democratic Party has gone way too far left for me. I mean, whether or not I would have changed 10 years ago, no. I mean, even though I voted a lot of Republican, I would go into the booth, and I'm not a person who ever pulled the lever on either side. I look at each candidate and I vote, and I was getting more and more Republican over the years. But about 2 years ago, I said the Democratic Party has left me. It's completely left me. I didn't leave the party. The party left me. And in fact, when it was the head of the Democratic National Committee came out and said, if you're pro-life, we don't want you in this party. You have to be pro-choice.
Correct.
So I always say that's another thing Democrats do. They espouse diversity,
Right.
but they sure as heck do not allow a diversity of opinion.
Close 10.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly how you have to act, and that was it. I mean, I was still a moderate, but when someone says we don't want you anymore, and so I said, okay, I guess I'm
Fine
going to
with
be.
me.
That's what I'm. And I'd already thought about running for office, so I said, all right, well, I obviously got to make the decision now. I said I'm going to have to be. I'm not going to have to be. I'm going to be a Republican. So I made the switch. So you made the switch. Was it about the same? When did you fully switch back? So
4
you
years ago, I
4
started
years
to
ago.
switch back, and then really the last 2 years cemented back in where I'm now a Republican committee man and vice ward chair.
Oh,
all
in what
sorts of
ward?
events. In the fifth ward.
In the fifth ward. That's right. Yeah, that's right. You're in the fifth ward. Okay. So yeah, I'm the ward leader of the 15th ward. So on the western side. So what do the log cabin Republicans do? Do you support? I know you support candidates. If you find candidates that you feel support and share a common goal of your mission, then you will endorse those candidates.
Correct.
So are they going to endorse you in your candidacy?
I hope so.
So
They already talked about it.
yeah, what if they?
I know
well,
people.
that would be embarrassing because you have 50 members. You lose. It's like
I need to get 26.
You need to get 25. I hope you
Yeah.
vote for yourself. So you got to convince 25 people. So is there and you have gatherings?
We have gatherings every month. We have meetings, socials, parties. We do some fundraisers. And like I said, we want to meet the candidates. We want to know their views. Then we vote as a group to endorse or not.
Okay.
And to give some support. And we can even give some support at the polls with people and personnel.
Sure. Well, so yeah, as your numbers grow, because as you know, and we'll even know even more once you're in the middle of a campaign, that day at the polls to have people at the polls supporting you is crucial.
Yes.
And having people at every single polling station. And I don't know how many are in the 5th Congressional District, but it's in the hundreds, if not close to it.
Yes.
It's
You
probably
have a lot.
500. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know there's 1,600 in the city of Philadelphia, so it's probably 600-700 because I think that district. I know that in Philadelphia it's broken up into two, and now you're outside of Philadelphia and in Philadelphia, but it does come over into Philadelphia,
Yes,
right?
I'm South Philadelphia, far South Philadelphia, Delaware County, and Lower Merion.
Okay, part of Lower Merion.
Yeah.
I wonder how far out in Lower Merion does it go?
Not as far, just over Lancaster into Montgomery County, Montgomery Avenue.
Okay, so I'm glad you're going to get the endorsement, and thank you again because I was endorsed in my city council race by you guys, and I appreciate it.
We love your positions.
No, thank you, and so now you decided to run for Congress. What made you decide I'm going to go run for Congress? I'm the leader of the Log Cabin Republicans, so I'm going to get that endorsement. I can't imagine that's the only reason you decided to run for office.
I just began to think of it this past year, and really because there's such a dearth of candidates that have come forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I was approached by leaders of both areas. Would you like to run in my area,
Sure.
in my district? And it was flattering. So I had 3 offers to run, and I decided to go with the one where I had more history and more family.
Okay. Interesting. So we're both in the middle of petitions. I'm running for the legislative 182nd as a state rep. You're running for Congress, and it is. I tell people so you know now, it is the worst 3 weeks of the campaign. So I know you're in the middle of it. And you're probably like, why did I decide to do this? It gets easier after petitions because the petition period is just so incredibly challenging. I only need 300, and that's hard. You need 1,000, and that's a minimum. And really, you need to, your goal I think is probably 1,500. That was what my goal was last year when I had to get 1,000, and my goal is 400 or 500. So we'll see if we can get there. But we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Usula Radio.
I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. And even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. I have a mentor, Maria, and she convinced me to continue my education. Just never judges. She's a true role model.
From the depths of my heart, I thank you, Maria, for being a friend and a beautiful person. No one receives a diploma alone, and I'm honored to share this moment with you. Thank you.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back. You're listening to Ursula Radio. My name is Drew Murray, and I am the host of the Republican Zone, and I am here with my friend Rob Jordan, who is the president and founder of the Log Cabin Republicans and a candidate for United States Congress. So we're going to talk a little bit more about your candidacy and why you want to run, what your plans are, what your thoughts are. And you do have a primary, right? So assuming we all get on none of us are on the ballot yet, so we're not even in the primary yet. Assuming you get on to the ballot, there are two people who are currently also collecting signatures:
Correct.
Joe Billy and Dasha Pruitt.
Right.
I don't know Joe Billy. I know I've met Dasha Pruitt a couple times. How are they doing? Or how are they doing on signatures? Because I think you guys are all new. None of you have run before for office.
So Dasha and Joe had a head start, meaning they started months ago knowing they were going to run.
Sure.
So they
Getting the plan together.
They had already gone before the Delaware County GOP to try to get an endorsement. And what happened was when they both presented, the Delaware County GOP decided not to endorse either one, but to recommend.
Okay.
So I had to go back before the same board Monday night, and I got the same recommendation.
So you got a
So
recommendation.
now we're all on the same.
And so how does that work? So they'll recommend numerous candidates, but if they were going to endorse, it is just down to one?
They've decided not to endorse as a county. But,
Okay.
But each ward leader or township leader can endorse whomever they like and support whomever they like.
Okay. So are ward leaders coming out to do so, or are they staying
They
neutral
are.
at this point?
Yeah.
They are?
I've had a couple already. Yes.
Okay, so you have a couple. Okay. Do you know how many wards there are within the district?
There are 39 municipalities within the county.
Okay. And do you know how many have endorsed you, or
I've had 3 or 4 already.
3 or 4 already?
endorsed, yeah.
Have any endorsed Joe or Dasha that you know of yet?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So just to warn you and just to let you know, I should say you have a week left, and after it gets easier.
Thank
because if you've never gone through the process, you have no idea how hard it is. And even my first time was last year. I thought, okay, I need to get 1,000. My goal was 3,000. I thought I had to work hard for it, but that I was going to get it. And a lot of people would get those numbers. I do think it's gotten harder in the last few years because people just don't answer their doors.
Right.
I mean, how many times do you walk up and there's a Ring doorbell, which
Yeah.
means it has a camera on it, which
Yeah.
means if they don't know who you are, they're probably not answering the
Right.
door, especially in the city. Maybe in the suburbs, is it a little easier, do you think?
It's a little easier, and I found that people will let me in, but then they want to talk a lot. They'll offer me meatballs or pasta or gravy or cookies.
Can't eat the meatballs. You got to say no.
Well, I've had a
You've
couple
had a
items
few
there.
meatballs.
I'm walking it off.
Any offers of wine or beer?
Not yet. I'm waiting.
Not
for that.
yet. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got that a few times last year. I was like, no, I cannot. I'm like, I got to keep going.
Yeah.
I haven't touched a drop of
But
alcohol.
you can't do
in 2
20
weeks.
or 30 minutes each house. When
No, you
have
can't.
1,000
You got to
signatures.
be in it. Oh,
Yeah.
it's interesting because in Philadelphia, at least in Center City, if they open the door, they're like they sign real fast. They want you out of there. But no. So
South Philly has been incredibly
Yeah.
generous. And
well, that's where you get
friendly.
the meatballs, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they have the best meatballs. Of course, that's where you go. But no, last year I went to Bridesburg a lot, and I went to Northeast Philly a lot. I did go to Packer Park a lot too. And you're right, the people invite you in. There
great.
was times that someone would say, just come on in.
Yeah.
And if it was a nice
yeah.
day, the screen door would be open. They're like, come on in. And I'd be like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm Drew Murray. I'm running for city council at the time. I'm like, you don't know who I am? I'm like, oh, just come on in. And one person's funny. Actually, one guy didn't realize that he thought it was his cousin walking in. And when I did walk in, after warning, I'm like, all right, here I come. He thought I thought I was going to get arrested for trespassing. So go over again why do you want to run? Like, is it innate in you that you want to serve? Do you look at the candidates or even the people there now and say, you know what, we could do better?
Yeah, I really got drawn into this because I saw what was going on in Washington and what just happened with the impeachment proceedings. The person in the office now, all she's done for 2 years is draft the articles of impeachment. That is it. And the people that I talk to in the district are not happy with that. So that's not should not be a goal. That should not be your record for 2 years. There should have been a lot more achievements. So I'm all about keeping this financial boom going on and this income tax structure and financial environment going strong. That's my one tenet. My other tenet is healthcare. So, in fairness, I work in the healthcare industry. I love the system we have. It could be made better, but we're always improving it. I like to see the current companies and delivery models we have perpetuate and just get tweaked and modified and not throw everything out with the baby with the bathwater
Sure.
and have government do healthcare. So that's my second tenet. And then my third tenet is jobs. This region needs a lot more jobs, a lot more job growth in coming years. We have artificial intelligence coming. We have new patterns of workforce life coming. And we need to get as much manufacturing in place as possible to be prepared for the coming decades. One of those items is the refinery that I know you and I will talk about later. But I'm a proponent of keeping that a refinery. I don't think that can ever be remediated to be residential housing. I think logistically that whole part of the 5th District between the Schuylkill and the airport and the Blue Route, that's going to be a logistics hub for a century or more. That's going to be huge. Even as humankind takes off to the stars, that's going to need to be industrial and manufacturing based. And that's why I'm running.
Sure. So now who is the incumbent? It's Mary
Gay Scanlon.
Mary Gay Scanlon. And so you think, so a lot of people are upset that she was for the impeachment.
Yes.
And so I guess we can talk about that a little bit. My thought on the impeachment was President Trump did not act as Toomey said, did not act in a perfect manner. I mean, I don't think it was to the level of impeachment, but I don't think that was a perfect conversation, we will say. And I will say this. I think the Democrats in Congress would have had a better argument if they didn't say they were going to impeach President Trump before he was even taking the Oval. Literally the day after he was elected, they said, we got to impeach this guy.
That's right.
He's got to do something. Number one, he has to be president first in order to be impeached. And then he's got to do something illegal in order to be impeached. So what are your thoughts about the impeachment? Was it warranted? Was it not warranted? Was his conversation perfect as our president likes to say?
I think we hired him as a businessman, and I've always been a businessman, so I can relate. He's not a sugarcoater. He's not a honeyed word speaker like President Obama was. So we knew he was transformative. We knew he was brash when we hired him to be the president. So the conversation could have been worded probably better than it was. But in his defense, I would say if I was in his role in the Oval Office, I would have done almost the same thing. We call that, in the healthcare world, we call what the Biden family got a broker commission. So no one in political families should get a broker commission on taxpayer aid to a foreign country. I would ask for an investigation too.
Sure.
I wouldn't give them another $1 million until we sorted out what happened the last time.
No, it's interesting to say because I honestly thought the president should have come out and said, look, all we talked about for the past 3 years is how Russia interfered in our elections. I'm just trying to make sure that Ukraine does not interfere in our elections. And I think it would have gone away. Yeah. But I'm a PR guy. Maybe the president should have hired me because I don't know why he didn't say that.
Right.
If he did say that right away, I think it would have gone away. But I think they would have tried to find something else to impeach him. But it is very frustrating to a lot of people. I think on both sides of the aisle, I think people are frustrated that we've wasted so much time. We had the Russian investigation, and he wasn't cleared of any wrongdoing, but they said there was no collusion. And then we have the impeachment, and hopefully we're done. I really do hope we're done. And what I tell Democrats, I said, I'll be honest with you. If you love President Trump, hate President Trump, the only thing the impeachment did was guarantee that he's going to be elected in 2020.
Right. My fury with the whole Russia investigation was if you begin an open-ended investigation of any attorney in the country, and I have to say, take 100 attorneys, you'll find something on 80 of them that could be taken for litigation or prosecution. That's just the way the nature of the field. So the fact that they had that open-ended investigation based on a false dossier was wrong from the get-go. So I agree with you. They started the day he was elected planning an impeachment, and they were going to find something to hang their hat on. Unfortunately, I think they found the weakest link with this whole Ukraine thing, given what happened.
Yeah, I think that's they were grasping at straws.
Right.
They really were. And I'll be honest, I have actually been critical of the president. I honestly like a lot of his policy. I do like his tax structure. I would probably have structured it a little differently, in that the middle class would have gotten more of a break, and as on an income tax level, less of a break on the upper class. But I'll be honest with you, I wish he would act more presidential. And it's funny, a lot of people say, why? I had David Torres on there. I'm like, why do you love him so much? He said, because he says exactly what's on his mind. And I said, well, sometimes a president shouldn't say what's on his mind. So I really wish he would act. And you gave President Obama, I mean, again, love him or hate him, he was an incredible communicator. I mean,
yes.
look at who is called the great communicator, President Ronald Reagan. Yep. I think a president should act presidential. Do you like the fact that he does say what's on his mind, or does it bother you?
I like the fact that he says what's on
really?
his mind, because then you know what he's thinking, you know where he stands, and there's no equivocation about it.
Yeah, no, that is true.
That's refreshing to me.
And what I tell people too, it's like he said exactly what he was going to do, meaning this is how he was going to be. It was how he was on the campaign trail.
Yeah,
and it is how he is. But no, or let's say that I'd rather he not tweet. And if he does tweet, he should get someone to check his tweets before he sends them, and not say that
spell check.
Yeah, well, spell check, thinking Kansas City is in Kansas. Although there is a Kansas City in Kansas, that's just not where the Kansas City Chiefs are from.
Right,
They're from
right.
Kansas City, Missouri. So if he maybe just had someone double check that, or when he did make the mistake, he should have just made a joke of it. I mean,
Right.
it got blown out of proportion. Like, he doesn't know where Kansas City is. It's not. He doesn't realize it's in Missouri and not Kansas. He should just come out and say, you know what, I messed up. I'm obviously not a football fan, and I didn't have anybody check what I was doing. So you said one of the big things. Well, the number one thing you said was tax structure. So you like how he
Let's make the tax cuts permanent, right? And let's expand the tax cuts and tax deductions for the middle and lower income folks. We have the money and the means to do that now.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a believer in the lower capital gains tax, because that's investment. That's, if you want people to invest, then you have
Correct.
to have a low capital gains tax. Right. I didn't think we needed to lower taxes on the higher income, because a lot of people in those tax brackets are already getting a break with the capital gains tax. So I didn't think we needed any break there. I would have rather seen a tax break on the lower and middle class, because the disposable income that gets released by that, I'll say, is going to go right into the economy. But
Right.
so that's my thought on taxes. Healthcare. So let's talk about healthcare next. You are in the healthcare industry.
Yes.
So you said you like the current system. Does that mean you like Obamacare? And you said it had to be tweaked, of course, but do you like Obamacare and it should just be fixed?
I didn't really like living through Obamacare. It was a sea change within the industry, changing everyone's benefit plans and having to do all new design planning. So it was horrific for several years. But I feel like since we invested in that, we should build on it and tweak it, and not go to all government-run healthcare.
Sure. No, and here's my thought on healthcare. Everyone should have the ability to afford healthcare, and I don't care who you are. And an example I will give is a 5-year-old kid who has cancer should be able to go to CHOP, just like my children go to CHOP, just like any children go to CHOP. So,
Right.
But we're going to come back and we'll talk about healthcare. We're going to go to a quick break. You're listening to USLA Radio.
I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. And even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. I have a mentor, Maria, and she convinced me to continue my education. She just never judges. She's a true role model.
From the depths of my heart, I thank you, Maria, for being a friend and a beautiful person. No one receives a diploma alone, and I'm honored to share this moment with you. Thank you.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Because of you, I feel not alone in this world. And you let me know that it only takes one person to make you feel wanted.
Welcome back. You're listening to USLA Radio. My name is Drew Murray, and I am the host of the Republican Zone. I'm with my friend Rob Jordan, and right before we went to the break, we started to talk about healthcare. So here's my view on healthcare. Honestly, if I thought the government could do a good job at running healthcare, I would be in favor of universal healthcare because I think healthcare is a right. It absolutely is a right. Every man, woman, and child deserves and should have healthcare. The problem is with universal healthcare is the government is not good at running things, and I would not want them to run healthcare, and I don't want them making decisions on my healthcare. If they could do a better job at it, I would say, let's do it. Which is why I liked Obamacare. Whether it was probably not implemented perfectly, and there are still a lot of faults in it, but what it did was it gave people the ability to have some level of affordable health care. Mm-hmm. So you're in the industry, so it was I guess it was a nightmare when it was rolled out.
It was a nightmare because a lot of companies, employers had really generous Cadillac style plans that they had to change, and conversely, sometimes they would carve things out. If you had a religious organization, they didn't want, oral contraceptives, they could carve it out, or they didn't want transgender surgery coverage, they could carve it out. So we've had a lot of battles with administering Obamacare because you have these national standards now. And
it is difficult because I believe in the freedom of religion, even if I disagree with some things. Mm-hmm. You're a Catholic, I'm a Catholic. I don't agree with the Catholic stance on the LGBT mm-hmm. issue, although I think it is misinterpreted a little bit. We can even talk about that if you want to. We'll go deep into the Catholic religion. I don't agree with that. But as a religion, if someone doesn't want to give as part of their health plan contraception, then I agree with that. But where do you draw that line, right?
Right.
If we don't want to be able to have to cover condoms. We don't have to cover the pill. The challenge with the pill is my daughter's not listening, but my young daughter is on the pill not because as a contraception, because it helps her periods. God, she's gonna kill me if she ever listens to this show that I'm talking about my 12-year-old daughter and why she's on the pill. But it's for it's because she has von Willebrand's, which is a something, and it basically you bleed a lot. So not to get too graphic, but I'm getting really graphic. Leslie's going to kill me if she is listening to this, and my daughter Scar's going to kill me even more. But that's why she's on the pill. Right. So it's completely medical. It's nothing to do with contraception. So then that's another thing. Well, it should a religious group be forced to even do something like that?
Right.
When it's being used medically. So it is a very complicated issue. But I believe in health care for everyone. And
mm-hmm.
And
yes.
people call it a tax. I think you should be. Here's the thing, and what I tell people: if you're going to cover pre-existing conditions, then you have to force people to have mm-hmm. health care, or else if you don't force people to have health care, but you cover pre-existing conditions, then
won't sustain.
Yeah, you'll just sit there and say, okay, well, I'm not going to have health care until I need it, and then if you get sick, then you purchase health care, and they have to cover your pre-existing conditions. You can't have one without the other, right?
Would it be great if you bought car insurance after an accident?
No, exactly. No, that's I actually never thought of that example, but you're exactly right.
Yeah.
So that's why you had to force people to get health care.
Right.
It wasn't perfect. President Obama said if you like your current doctor, you can keep them, and that didn't always happen. Sometimes you did have to change. The thought was that insurance wasn't going to go up for people, but it did. So that was, in my opinion, that was the biggest gripe that I heard from people who said, I had health care, I liked my health care, I'm fine with paying a little more, but not a lot more. Right. And I think Obamacare, a lot of people paid a lot more.
Yes.
So now, what exactly do you do in healthcare?
So I am a sales executive. So I'm tasked with bringing large employers to Blue Cross from other carriers or from individual plans. and
So
that
you
sort of-
okay? So you're on the insurance side. Okay, so I'm glad I didn't say anything disparaging about the insurance. That's exactly why I asked you that, by the way, because I was like, okay, let's talk about how bad the insurance industry is.
Right.
So we'll talk about how great they are, right? We'll
No,
see.
it is great because I get turned on through the years of developing a benefits plan that will satisfy the needs of a company. Maybe a company that's blue collar on their feet all day, assembly line. You have better preventive benefits and more wellness benefits. Other companies that are high tech might get more into the portals and the gadgets and the digital. So I do all that design of benefits planning, and then I get to meet with the company and meet the employees and roll it out. So it's been very satisfying.
All right, great. So you work obviously in the Philadelphia area? Do you travel all
I've been
over?
in the Philadelphia area my whole life. If a company's based here, I will, but it's in California, I'd have to maybe go to that plant to meet the people and do the open enrollment. It's called. We have open enrollment meetings when we roll out the benefits. So
Okay.
yeah, there's a little bit of travel.
And so we've hit healthcare, so jobs, and we're going to talk specifically. We'll go right into the refinery because it's fun. So just to let people know, so I asked Rob what he might want to talk about when he comes on, and he forwarded me an email about an article about the refinery, and he said, and as he already said earlier. He said, I am for the refinery staying where it is as a refinery. And my reply to him was like, oh, this should be an interesting conversation because I'm on the opposite side of that. So here's my thought, because I'm the host, so I get to go first. I am an environmentalist. And that's why I always tell people, well, people think Republicans are only don't care about the environment. I always say that's completely wrong. There are people like me who are, that's my left side. I say I'm a moderate, but I'm an environmentalist. I do believe in climate change, and I do believe, even more importantly, in man-made climate change. Not because I'm a smart guy, because I listen to the scientists, and the vast majority of scientists say not only are we having climate change, but we are having it is man-made climate change. So, but that said, we're still reliant on fossil fuels. So we still do need refineries. So I would never have said, you said 2 years ago, should we close that refinery? I would have said, no, we still need fossil fuels. We still need refineries. We still need fracking. The natural gas is actually a cleaner fuel. So, we need to be making strides toward taking care of our environment better. But when there was the fire, there is the bankruptcy. I look at that as an opportunity or a chance to move forward. And it does pain me to see those workers lose their jobs and lose their jobs so quickly. I mean, it was immediate, right? We had the huge fire last summer, and then they came out and they were going bankrupt. And I do feel for those workers. But my opinion is this is an opportunity for a couple reasons. Number one, I do think we need to lessen our dependence on all fossil fuels. So if this refinery is in bankruptcy, maybe let's move on. And the second thing, and this is maybe a little selfish, it is prime real estate on the river. I live right on the Schuylkill River, just north of the refinery, about a mile or two. We have an awesome, incredible bike trail. And so I look at it like, wow, why don't we make this an incredible open space, park, bike trail, homes, commercial mixed use, and make it an incredible area. I envision restaurants right on the river, and an incredibly beautiful space. To me, it could be an awesome recreational area and homes for a lot of people. You disagree?
I disagree. So that site, the PES site, had a component of it that was going to be food waste to fuel in the north part, which again is cleaner than the petrochemicals. I also believe that since that site began in 1866 and became the largest refinery on the whole East Coast, that soil is so unfortunately tainted, the remediation is going to take millions and millions and millions of dollars. I don't know how feasible that would ever be, even to turn it into parkland or to turn it into residential homes or warehouses.
Sure, it would definitely have to be, but my thought there is we're going to have to do it someday, right? So is this not the time to do it? It's an opportunity
and see,
to do
I
it.
disagree. I think that corridor is going to be our logistics corridor, our manufacturing corridor for the next century. My good friend Teresa Flanagan-Murtaugh from Delaware County always reminds me that whole Delaware County base from Marcus Hook and Aston all the way up to Chester and Essington and Tinicum, that was manufacturing, shipyards, petrochemicals for years, and I don't see that changing going forward. Again, until such time as we leave fossil fuels, which we're probably decades away from, and even at that point, I think it's still going to be a logistics hub for the whole country.
So so even if it's not for fossil fuel,
right?
For
If it's not
refining,
fossil,
it could
it's
be.
still
It
gonna
would be something. You think it's industrial, no matter what.
Industrial or the new fuels of the future, the new power cells that come up, the solar. I just don't see that going residential or park.
And I would agree with you there because of where it is, the location where it is at the base of the Schuylkill, going into, I mean, obviously
The airport.
in the airport, but I don't know.
Navy Yard.
I just see it as an opportunity and such
I mean,
an incredible
in a perfect
opportunity.
world, it would
Yeah.
be. But we still have to have jobs. We still have to have industry, and we
Oh,
want
absolutely, yeah.
Philadelphia to be preeminent in both. So that's why I said we need to draw our battles. And I think there are other areas where we can make parkland and better docks and waterfront access. But I think that triangle, in my mind, should still be industrial.
And because I also will look at it and say there's a CSX train
Correct.
rail that goes up and down the Schuylkill River.
Right.
That causes me trouble getting on the bike trail sometimes when it's blocked. So selfishly, and it might not even go away because it's not the only,
And the pipelines.
Yeah.
All the new oil Mariner pipelines we've built, they're connecting there. If there's nothing to connect to, well, why have we built this infrastructure?
And honestly, there could be an issue there anyway. Johnny Doc said in an editorial today that and actually I read this. There is a deed restriction, so they might not be able to, even if they do sell it, and even if this company does agree to remediate.
Right.
There might be a deed restriction that
Correct.
might prevent it from going to a commercial mixed use
Right.
or residential.
I'm with Johnny Doc and the trade unions on what they're saying. I believe that. I agree with that point.
And look, I don't want to see any jobs leaving the city of Philadelphia. I think the city of Philadelphia is not a business friendly environment, and it's not a
Sure.
look. We don't have enough people with skilled jobs here already. So to see jobs leave this area is not something that I would ever want.
Yeah.
I just really look at that as just such prime real estate that could be awesome.
Yeah.
But you're right. We don't know yet what that remediation is going to
Right.
cost.
Right.
And I don't think we even fully understand yet who has to pay for it. Because even with the sale of the land, that there was I don't know if there's an agreement of sale, but there was an auction. So someone did purchase this land to change the use to more of a commercial mixed use
Right.
and residential.
Right.
But I don't know if it's ever been decided who is going to have to remediate that space. I think some people think it's Sunoco, who the original owner of the parcels, is responsible, but I don't think that's been fully vetted yet. So I guess time will tell. Does Mary Gay Scanlon have an opinion on the refinery?
I haven't heard anything.
Is she still talking about the impeachment?
She's still on
She's still
impeachment.
trying to figure out.
She's still on
She's
impeachment.
on the. She's like, okay, we lost that battle. We gotta figure out something else to impeach the president on. So any other issues? So tax, healthcare, jobs, any other issues that are really that when you're out on the campaign trail, but you're not necessarily out there yet, what are people, when you're getting signatures even, what are they saying to you? Like what's their biggest issue that they want you to deal with?
Their biggest issue is to keep the tax cuts coming. A lot of the senior citizens are keen about Social Security, and they're asking, why am I taxed on my Social Security earnings when I've worked so hard in my life? I've done everything right. I've saved all this money, and now you're taxing me at this clip. So that's something we need to take a look at as well.
Okay. All right. We're going to take another break. You're listening to Ooster Radio and Drew Murray, the host of the Republican Zone.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Welcome back. You're listening to USLA Radio. My name is Drew Murray, and I'm the host of the Republican Zone. We're back here for the last segment with my friend Rob Jordan. So we've talked about taxes, we've talked about healthcare, we've talked about jobs. A huge issue in this city, and in fact, there was a big rally in South Philadelphia that was started actually by a St. Joe's prep guy, Anthony Giordano. God, I'm sitting there. You know better than I do how to pronounce his name. He was a couple years ahead of me at the prep, but there was this huge rally, and it's because South Philly, like in my opinion, a lot of areas of the city of Philadelphia are not as safe as they were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, definitely a year or two ago. And anyone who listens to my show knows that I am not a fan of our district attorney, Larry Krasner. I think criminals are becoming emboldened. They don't think that they're going to get they're not going to, not that they're not going to get prosecuted, but they feel that they're not going to get prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And so I think they're out there. They're not worried about committing crimes. They're not worried about committing violent crimes because they feel that Larry Krasner is going to just give them a light sentence. So how do you feel about our district attorney here, Larry Krasner?
Yeah, I'm really mortified by what he's done the last year, and I think he's taken the city and the whole region in a different direction that's bad. And when I've knocked on these doors for petition signatures, that is one of the number one things we hear is the safety and security of the neighborhood and the crime that's gone on the last 6 to 12 months that seems to be not policed. It seems to be not, prosecuted.
Sure. And I don't blame the police for that. I feel like the police department, their hands are really tied. And my biggest concern is this, our economy is doing great. The Dow is at record highs. Mm-hmm. Unemployment is at close to record lows. We're well below full employment. So normally crime goes down during these times. And in fact, in many big cities, not everyone, but in many big cities, we are seeing crime go down. We're seeing violent crime, more importantly, go down, but not in the city of Philadelphia. Murders are at a faster pace than they were last year, which was at a faster pace the year before. And I call it the Krasner effect. I blame our district attorney and all the ADAs who are not prosecuting. In my opinion, it's violent crime. That's what I want to see really prosecuted to the full extent of the law. I believe in criminal justice reform. I do. And I think there were too many people put in jail for long periods of time for minor offenses. Mm-hmm. And so we did need to look at it. I actually look at cash bail, and I'm not a fan of it. I don't think you should be in jail because you can't afford to put up bail. So honestly, I would do away for nonviolent crimes. I would probably do away with most bail, as long as they don't think they're a flight risk. Then do away with it. I don't think how deep your pockets should ever determine whether or not you're in jail. But that again, I guess that's my liberal and moderate side. You can disagree with me because I know a lot of Republicans do, but that's why some Republicans call me a rhino. But I think that's okay. When I was a Democrat, they used to call me a dino, a Democrat in name only. Now that I'm a Republican, I say I just think for myself. But
right.
What do you think about criminal justice reform and what Larry Krasner is doing? Because the one thing I'll say about Larry, I'll give him credit for, he didn't lie to us. He said
exactly what he said he would do.
He did exactly what he said he was going to do.
People didn't think he would.
And people didn't think he would, but people still voted for him.
Right.
What are your thoughts on criminal justice reform overall? And Larry Krasner's interpretation thereof?
I agree with you. I think incarceration is not always the first choice of options for a lot of these cases, but I do think that you have to have a top-down policy for your police force to know that if there is a crime committed, you're going to back them up. You're going to support their prosecution. You're going to have prosecutors in there doing their job. You're not in there as DA to release the offenders, to make excuses for them. My family was friendly with the young man who was killed in Rittenhouse Square. Mm-hmm. So I have a real strong opinion on that, and I think how that went down was horrific. I know the mother personally.
Okay.
So
Sean's mother.
Yes, Linda. Very shocking, very upsetting. And I would also say, I was a Cardinal Howard graduate, then a Villanova Augustinian, I know you're St. Joe's Prep.
I'm a Jesuit. Yeah, I'm a Jesuit.
So I would say, what would St. Ignatius say to this
No,
current environment?
and I'll be honest. When Sean was murdered, and I heard that Michael White was charged with first-degree murder, I actually said, no, you know what? I didn't agree with that. I thought it was a crime that happened, but when it got brought all the way down to, and at the last minute, the night before the trial, it was brought to third degree. Correct?
Right.
It was very strange to me that our DA would do that. And honestly, it was the second time I believe he had lowered it. I agreed with the first time. I didn't think it was first degree murder because I didn't think it was premeditated. But I didn't think that obviously Sean did not deserve to die no matter what the case. But you know, Michael White shouldn't have taken a knife out of his bag and shouldn't have stabbed him over an argument in the
walk
street.
away from it.
And he's literally walked away from it and only convicted of basically tampering with evidence. And that's a crime. And it's a crime on numerous reasons. So, Linda, did Larry Krasner call her the month before and say, we're going to lower? No.
Nope.
The first time he did not. And even when he did sit down and say, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to go second degree, did he call her the night before and say, we're changing it? No. And Larry Krasner does this all the time. And you know what he does? He apologizes after the fact. Or you know what he does too? He blames the ADAs and say it's not my fault. It's never his fault. He doesn't know the calls. He's making all the calls. You're absolutely right. That's the way he is. He's not letting anyone else make decisions.
No.
He consistently has not notified victims of plea deals, which to me is deplorable. And he's done it over and over again. And he did the same thing to Linda. I mean, it's horrific. And I think because of the way he consistently downgraded the crime for Sean's murder is why the jury knew it. I mean, the jury watches the news before, and they knew it was downgraded the night before, and I think it hurt the chances of the conviction. And to me, was that on purpose with Larry? I mean, honestly, I think it was.
Yeah. What he does demoralizes the whole city. It demoralizes the suburban residents who are fearful of coming into the city, and it's going to lead to a change in the whole city structure, politics, and he won't be reelected. So.
Do you think that, though? I'll be honest with you.
I do think that.
You think he's not going to be reelected?
No, there is such strong feeling against him and against the city party at this point.
But here's the problem. Is someone going to challenge him in the primary? Is a Democrat going to challenge him in a primary? That would be rare.
I think there will.
I hope there is.
Yeah.
And another problem that I had with just when he was elected, and what I tell people is he had no chance of getting elected. He was a public defender his entire career, and we hired a public defender to be our top prosecutor. The reason he got elected was because George Soros put in millions of dollars not into his campaign because you're not allowed to do that, but he would put it. He basically. He paid for advertising. He paid millions to get people on the street. As we talked about earlier, people at those polling stations saying, Larry Krasner, Larry Krasner, Larry Krasner. So people went in and pushed that button. Right. Most people didn't understand or know or realize that someone from outside of the city of Philadelphia basically picked our DA.
The dark money.
Yeah, the dark money. Absolutely. So I hope there's a Republican that can beat him, but I don't think there is. Beth Grossman, I think, did a great job in running against him the first time. I would love for Beth to come out again and run.
I love Beth.
I don't know if she will. I keep asking her, but she looks at me like I'm crazy when I say you can actually beat Larry Krasner. Do you think? So we'll go this in two routes. Do you think a Republican could beat Larry if he gets through the primary?
I do. I think the city is changing in the different neighborhoods. And I think a Republican can beat him, or I think someone within his own party that's more mainstream can beat him.
Sure, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know if a Republican can beat him because it's hard. I mean, what are we, a 7-to-1 ratio, Republican to Democrat? Getting better. I mean, those ward leaders in South Philadelphia are doing great things. They're turning divisions.
Yep.
But I think we're some time away from having a percentage of Republicans in the city to win an election like the DA. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see myself be wrong. So I look at it in a couple years and say, hopefully a Democrat who is more moderate, who understands and is not against our police force. And look, there are some things that happened with the city of Philadelphia, the police department, some Facebook posts that came out, and they were bad. But there are bad people, there are bad teachers, there are bad police officers, there are bad insurance executives. There are bad people in all walks of life. I don't think it was systemic in the city of Philadelphia Police Department, but that's what Larry Krasner alludes to, and that's what he tells people, that it's systemic, that every police officer in the city of Philadelphia is a racist, and we can't trust them, and we got to change things.
Right.
And you can improve things, but he wants to just throw everything at the feet of the police and say it's their fault because they're bad people. And I think that's deplorable. These are men and women who go out every day fighting for us, putting their lives on the line for us.
That's right.
And he is throwing them under the bus, saying everything that's wrong in the city of Philadelphia is them. And so we talked about Anthony and the South Philadelphia rally the other night, and they got I don't know the exact number. I was out getting petitions, probably just like you are, so I couldn't attend. But when Larry Krasner heard about the rally, he said, "Oh, actually, crime's not up in South Philadelphia," which is wrong. He said there's no data to support it, but he doesn't give any data to support that the crime is down. Councilman David O went and said the quality of life crimes that are crippling our city are not being addressed by the DA. And again, he goes, well, there's no data to support that the quality of life crimes are increasing. But he doesn't offer any data saying
Right.
saying
No,
the
it's happening
opposite.
everywhere. I took the L 2 weeks ago down from Kensington to Center City, and I watched someone shoot up on the train with a needle, go into convulsion, almost die, and I saw this woman revive him with Narcan. And I thought I would never see something like that ever in my life.
No, I just literally right outside my house, just a week and a half ago, a gentleman at 10:45 at night. So not at 3 in the morning, not at an odd time when they're actually, it was a Saturday night at 10:45 when people are out on the street. A man was walking home from work and he got mugged by two gentlemen, and it was an armed robbery, and they beat him into an inch of his life. And that has never happened in my neighborhood, and it's not unique to my neighborhood. It's happening all over.
Right.
So
Right.
And so you talked about you've seen someone inject themselves on the L. What are your feelings about safe injection sites? This is more of a city issue, maybe not a federal one, but what do you think about safe injection sites?
I don't like the safe injection sites, no. I think that's giving credence, or that's giving permission to carry on that behavior.
You're exactly, and I say it's bringing normalcy to
Right.
doing
Don't bring
to
normalcy
doing
to
drugs.
it.
Because
Don't do it on the
yeah.
L. Well, who would ever think to do it on the L?
I completely agree, and it's going to be bad for our neighborhoods. And I believe, and I hope when you are in Congress that you will find more funding to help these people, because it is. I empathize with them. I understand addiction is a disease.
It is.
And we can't just say you brought this on yourself. We need to help these people.
Right.
But bringing normalcy to it is
No.
the opposite of what we need
Opposite.
to do. And another thing I say is, look at supply and demand of drugs. If you open up a safe injection sites, I'm a business person. Where are the people supplying these drugs going to go? They're going to go right outside of those safe injection sites, which will be all around the city. It's not just going to be in Kensington,
Right.
like a lot of people think. It's going to be in North Philadelphia. It's going to be in South Philadelphia,
Right.
West Philadelphia, Center City,
Right.
because there are people with addiction all over the city, and it's not just going to be Kensington. And you're going to just be seeing drug dealers just camping outside of these homes.
Proliferate.
Yeah, because they're not going to prosecute them,
No.
and because of our district attorney. So we're coming to an end. I want to thank Rob for coming on my show.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you
as
for having
the
me.
as the leader, and congratulations for the Log Cabin Republicans.
Thank you.
Good luck on your race. Good luck on getting your petitions. You're probably going to leave here right now and start getting more and more signatures. I'm proud of you. I think it's awesome that you are running, because it is not an easy thing to do. People call me crazy for running. We are, and you know what? We are crazy for running, and now you know why, that you're 2 weeks into it. So
And please, residents of 5th District, come out and vote for Rob Jordan in the primary April 28th.
yes, thank you very much. You're listening to USLA Radio, Drew Murray, and the Republican Zone.